Mr. Clerk to advise when we are streaming. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I call to order this special meeting of council for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. On this Earth Day, it's especially important that we acknowledge the land. And so in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I acknowledge that we are gathered in the heart of Treaty 7 territory of southern Alberta. This land is home to the Blackfoot Confederacy, consisting of the Siksika, Kainai, and Pekanai First Nations, also the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and our most adjacent Indigenous neighbors, the Iyarhe Nakota, comprised of the Bears Paw, Goodstoney, and Chiniki First Nations. Further, we are located within the Rocky View Métis District within the Battle River Territory, District 4. The town of Canmore is committed to working to live in right relations and to advance truth and reconciliation as we acknowledge the many Indigenous peoples whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. I'm grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. Now looking to the agenda for today, we have an addition of a closed session. Dr. Cottle, did you want to provide a title for that closed session?
You bet. The title for the closed session is around the judicial review of the livability tax, and we're asking that council close the meeting to prevent disclosure of solicitor-client privilege in accordance with Section 27(1) of the FOIP Act.
Great, thank you. And so that will be added as K1, subject to council's approval. So I will move that we approve the agenda for April 22nd, 2025, special meeting of council as amended. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Councillor Ma is joining us virtually, and every time I call for a vote, I think the surrounding traffic will think he's waving. Fortunately, and of course we would insist upon it, he is the passenger, so no use worrying that he's driving at this moment. Okay, so now we will, there are no minutes for approval, so we'll get right into the business. The first business for today is business arising from the minutes, and that is the Rotary Club of Canmore, the Trail Project Stage 2 delegation request. Of course, we've been provided the opportunity to ask questions when the delegation was here previously, and we have been provided those answers as part of our package here, along with the original presentation. And so, before making a motion, I would just ask if any member of council has any further questions before I put forward motions. I'm going to put forward motions that mirror the requests. Seeing none, I will move that council confirm the town of Canmore's willingness to participate in the process to develop a trail plan for the trail Stage 2. I think that this is a very interesting project. There, of course, are a number of interest holders all along where that trail will be. Only a very small part of it would flow through or be within the municipal boundaries of the town of Canmore. However, every partner along the way, I think, is integral for the success of a Stage 2 of this trail. And I think it's a really interesting idea to explore. And so I will be supporting this motion. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Faubert.
I just have a procedural question.
Yes.
So the motion is that council confirm is the first one, and then there will be a second motion for the MOU?
Yes. So this is simply our willingness And then if we have that willingness, then we will direct administration to essentially appoint somebody to be working part of it and develop the memorandum of understanding that will come back to us.
Okay. They felt like very similar, so I thought they might have been but I am going to speak in favor.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how we get there,
Yeah.
because I think one of the greatest assets that we have as a community and as a destination is our trail network. Being able to connect our trail network out to other communities within the region is very, very powerful. I remember as a kid, my friends who rode their bike to Banff or to Calgary, being teased a little bit. It wasn't seen as the thing to do. Now with the Legacy Trail, we have seen the potential for what can happen when we open up the possibility for people to travel longer distances by bike. And I think that the potential for bike packing as a tourism product is exceptional, and this will only build on that. So I am definitely I have a willingness to participate in this. And I really look forward to seeing this work unfold. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am happy to support. I feel the Rotary Club's done a great job bringing forth some pretty clear intention behind this. And the Legacy Trail is a much loved amenity, so it'd be great to see how that transforms the other direction, heading towards the MD and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wishing to speak to this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And so now that there's that willingness, this now gets to the substance of the direction to administration. I move that Council direct administration to work on the development of a memorandum of understanding and return to Council for approval. So in behind this motion is the necessity of the various parties to understand their roles and how they will participate. My understanding is that Mr. Weldon has been involved in discussions and very likely, I suspect, will be requested by the CAO to represent the town in this matter. But of course, that's up to the CAO. But this allows us to move to the next step, and it will then come back to us for approval, so that we're not being committed to something without our knowledge. So I will certainly support this motion to allow this work to proceed. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. So thank you very much for the delegation, and now you have your answers. And we look forward to hearing from either members of the delegation or town administration in due course as this matter progresses. So thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item G1, which is the Downtown Business Improvement Area Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09. Ms. Gibbons, welcome to Council.
Thank you. I'm doing a lot of introductions this morning. So good morning, Mayor and members of Council. This morning we have the Downtown Business Improvement Area, or BIA, Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09 for your approval. Our recommendations are that first, Council approve the Downtown BIA 2025 budget as presented, and then that Council give the Downtown BIA Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09 the 3 readings. This will then allow us to include these amounts in the annual tax notices and collect them on behalf of the BIA. With me today is Mr. McMahon, Executive Director of the BIA, who will present the budget and the tax rates.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. McMahon, welcome to Council.
Thank you.
The microphone is yours.
Great. Good morning, everyone. So with us moving forward in 2025 with the budgets, we've got, next slide. All right, I prompted myself last year. So obviously, as it says, each year we come before council looking for budget approval upon different changes that our board has put together. The rate structure established has been tweaked a bit this year, as you've all seen, and I'm sure we'll have some questions on. With the next slide. As stated, we need to pass the bylaw for the year so that we can move forward with it. The fee structure, which is what we'll have questions on today, has been presented to the membership, approved by the board, as well as membership, with a 3.8% increase over last year. The board is trying to line up with the town's increases annually so that it'll be a much more clear and straightforward annual adjustment, as opposed to the sporadic adjustments as the past, which I spoke to last year, but trying to settle into a specific increase structure. Next one, please. Asking that with all of this, we consider that we are looking towards different ways to try and increase the revenue for the BIA, looking at the different square footage allotments, but also then starting to account for moving forward into 2026, not something for today's discussion, but so you're aware, addressing short-term rentals, be Airbnb, Verbo kind of scenario. Also looking at the hotel hostel side as a different square footage breakdown, and trying to make it a bit more equitable for everyone as we move forward. So with that, barring questions, obviously, we're asking that you approve the budget for 2025.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. McMahon, for being here today in order to answer questions. Of course, this comes to us every year, but this year there are some changes, and so I expect that those changes will prompt some questions.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to start with a couple of questions. I noticed the report says that there's new fees for hotel accommodation, short-term accommodation, and undeveloped lots. I see the fees for the hotels and the undeveloped lots. Are there any fees for short-term accommodation included?
There are not. So we started this process spring of last year. Started asking what we thought were the right questions, thought we were getting clear answers, which we did get clear answers, very specific answers for the questions we asked, but there was not enough color around the questions. So as we went along and got into the time to work on the tax levy and get it collected, we realized that there was not a mechanism in place for us to be able to collect through taxes from those short-term accommodations. With conversation had at that point, it was decided by the board and through administration that we should push this off until 2026. Looking at a mechanism where we find out business license applications, we can then connect that to address, we can connect that to tax roll, and then be able to move it into something that's collectible.
Right, okay, that makes sense. As far as the hotel accommodations go, are hotels currently subject to a BIA fee?
Yes, they are.
A levy?
Yeah.
Okay, how were they calculated, like, before? Because this is new as far as per room, right?
Per room, yeah. So we had a levy committee come together again to try and see how we could continue the growth of BIA and make it sustainable. So from there, they had two theories, one proposed by me, one put together by the board itself as far as kind of how we get there. We settled back in on the per room fee, thinking that that was an opportunity to match the levy to the property itself. We had a potential member from border expanded area that we are looking to in the future to discuss. On the committee, we also had invited someone from CHLA and Base Camp to be part of that committee as well. They weren't ever able to make it. So through that, there was discussion about what's the right way to go, square footage fee, which is what we've always done as far as the BIA, or go to a room fee. The board settled in on room fee, Previously, they were based on a square footage fee, so everything capped out at either 2,000 or 2,500 square feet. So a 10,000 square foot plus property was paying the same as a 2,500 square foot property. So they were trying to capture some more funding that way.
And how did the amount arrive at 550 as opposed to 300 or 800?
Just discussion back and forth through that committee. It ranged upwards of, I can't remember the exact dollar amount, a higher dollar amount just for a hotel or a hostel, period. It set at X number of dollars. It dropped down to as low as $250 per room, and then they sort of worked their way back and forth and settled in upon that 500 or 550, depending whether you were Main
Right.
Street or off Main.
Okay. And when the notices were sent out, and this may be a question for Ms. Gibbons then, when the notices were sent out to the properties with the draft budget, was there an indication as to what the fees would likely be?
Sorry, no, the communication we sent was directly in line with what the regulation required, which was more notification around that this item would be discussed today,
Right.
that they would have the opportunity, affected property owners could speak with council's permission, and with the budget as attached to your agenda package today, attached to that letter. I don't believe there was a breakdown of the fee schedule in the
Okay.
communication we provided.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. McMahon, but the hotels and the association were invited to the table, so they knew that there was going to be discussion around fees per room?
Yes.
Okay.
So included in, they were included in the agendas. They were sent the minutes from those levy committee meetings as well.
Okay.
So there was communication there. From the BIA side, we sent out a fee structure to each and every property, breaking down what their specific fees are, not the overall, just specifically what their property will be. Those were sent out 2 months ago.
Okay, and so they were sent to the hotels as well?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, everybody's going to get an increase, but the biggest increase is for the hotels. So they're sent to them. Did you get any response from the hotels?
We've not gotten any specific response. I know some others have gotten response, but not directly to us.
Okay. Great. Okay, I've got more questions, but I will turn
Yeah.
over to Councillor Hillstad and then Councillor Faubert.
Thank you for your presentation. A couple questions. First off, with the change to for the hotels, are there current hotels that have been part of the landlord/business fee? Are they getting switched over to this new model, or are they still just paying the landowner business fee? Because like, are you collecting two separately, or are they paying that plus this on top? How does that work? 'Cause just looking at this, like, there's the budget for the $178,938 for the fee schedule, and then there's the overall budget, which adds these new ones in. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, if the Canmore Hotels was part of the BIA, are they now switching over to this new method, or are they still just paying on the old square foot method?
They switch over to the new method.
Okay. And then, yeah, just with this budget, are you going to have a separate, are you going to tie these fees into that overall fee schedule later, or is it just now kind of two broken out things? There's the fee schedule, which I see at the bottom for the 178, and then there's kind of the overall budget with the grade lines that show different totals there, 14,300, and it seems like they're different line items because the total revenue is 289,000. So just how does that work exactly?
It was broken out for clarity, just so that it would, because it was new. We wanted to make sure that it was not buried in just, we went from here to here, and how did we get there? So we want to make sure that it was clear that it was there.
Okay, so the gray is just
From the-
showing the breakdown.
Yes,
Right,
yeah,
perfect.
from the fee structure worksheet, it's just strictly a built-in column or row. But we, again, just wanted it
Perfect.
to be clear what was happening.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hillstad. So, Councillor Faubert.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. There is also a process for a business owner to appeal their levy to the board as well, correct?
There is.
How would they do that?
Well, as we alluded to earlier, contacting us, that's step number one. So we've heard from others that have heard from property owners. we wanted to go through this and see what feedback was to go further to see, should we be fishing out more people with concerns, or again, let them come to us with their concerns. So far, we haven't heard anything directly. But yeah, it would be to go to the board, address their concerns, and then board take that under consideration and move forward from there.
So when you say you haven't heard anything directly, you've heard indirectly that there's
We've
concerns?
heard sorry, we've heard indirectly, so chatter amongst business owners.
Okay.
The people who, with the hotel properties, have not spoken to us directly, but chatter amongst, well, I heard this, or I've heard that, so.
Okay, okay.
What is actually being said and what's the true line, I'm not.
So hopefully there's been some encouragement to make their views known to the board,
For sure.
and if there's any formal appeal, to use that process. Okay,
Absolutely.
great, thank you. Councillor Graham?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. McMahon. I'm wondering, have all hotels within the district been paying
Yes,
levy fees?
Yeah.
Including the new ones?
yes.
Yeah.
There's nothing newer than last year.
Excellent.
So yes, they've all been part of the structure, again, capped out at that 2,500 square foot fee.
The structure was very different, but everybody's been paying the fees. if they're-
Absolutely.
Okay.
I checked back with previous director and trying to touch base on board members from 2006 to see what the process was, but in my predecessor's time, all of those properties have been paying a levy.
Excellent, that's good to hear. I had heard that some of them might not have been, so that's good to confirm.
No, they've been paying it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether or not they've paid clear attention to what they're paying, I can't speak to, but.
Sure.
But they have been paying it.
Okay, excellent. Can you speak to the grant, the Town Center Grant Fund of 109, what that looks like, and
Yes, I can. So last year, obviously first year, a lot of transition took place during that first year.
Yeah.
Me in, predecessor out. Between the levy committee and an event vibrancy activation committee, we've kind of put all our efforts into those in the last 6 to 8 months. Realizing last year, by the time we got moving, that budget was already on the go, trying to get projects planned and have different bits of vibrancy activation on the go we did some things well, but we intended to do more. And that's where our plan comes in for this year, pulling forward what we haven't spent in the last year and a half. We're looking to do some art projects around downtown. And have earmarked funds for that. We are looking to do better presentation for Main Street pedestrianization, pull some of that over to tents so that we are trying to encourage people to move in that direction as well. Beyond that, we would like to do a push, and that's what our committee is currently working on, is a push towards a winter event. As the town has kind of moved away from doing some of those things, we have the funding available to try to push into that. And that's where the majority of funds for this saved up budget is being geared towards.
so a lot of this is funds that have been carried forward, not used in previous years.
Correct.
Okay.
So with us having gaps in directorship and boards, and the funding has not been spent properly, or spent in some cases at all. So again, for 2025, there's a very clear plan laid out with those committees thus far approved by the board, be the art, the Main Street pedestrianization, and trying to work a bit with Folk Fest to bring music downtown during that time frame.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a few more, but I'll leave them for a bit here.
Okay. Councillor Mara?
Thank you. Many of my questions have been asked. I just have a couple. How many nonprofits do we have in the zone? Do you know offhand?
I believe there's 5.
5?
Yes.
Okay. And of the 26 and 24 accommodation units, are they all operational, 26 and 24, or are there more to come on board, or those are actual,
That's current.
that's current?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I need to know right now. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a couple more questions, clarification. I just want to confirm, it does say here that each landowner that also owns a business is only charged once. The fee is applied to the business. So if you have a big building with a bunch of renters, the landowner will get a fee and the businesses will get fees. If you have a condominiumized building, so they're all owners and they're all business, and their businesses in the condo, they only get one fee. It wouldn't be charged twice as landowner and a business, correct?
They get the business.
They get business, okay, good. Now, I notice in the budget, or in the report, it says that undeveloped lots will be $3,600 per lot. In the budget, the actual number used is 3,905, and I see that in, 3,905, and I see that in the bylaw. So is the 3,600 an old number?
3,600 is the undeveloped lot fee, the 305 is that landowner fee,
Oh, and the landowner fee.
hence the 3,905.
Okay, so, yeah, so undeveloped lots, so I'm looking at the budget, it says undeveloped lots, $3,600 per lot, but then the actual fee is $3,905, and the $3,905 is just what's found in, down there, so which one of those is correct? 39?
It's a total number. So the 3,905 is the overall. So same as you had said, landowner, gentleman who owns the building across the street, he's charged 305. His individual
Okay, so it
units are
should
then
be
charged per square footage.
$3,600 a lot plus the 305.
Plus the 305
And so
landowner
that's,
fee.
okay, that makes sense then. Okay. And I think you've spoken to the grant fund that accounts for unused amounts in previous years that add up, so that's how we get this larger amount.
Correct.
And I see that pretty much all the grant is going to be spent on the enhancement projects and events.
Yes.
Given that it's a larger amount this year, are there some permanent things that are going to be created from it that won't have to repeat next year? Because obviously, if you don't carry it forward, if there was going to be an annual thing, you'll be short of funds next year.
Part of what's being spent this year on the art around downtown would be on the permanent side. Some of that stuff from the MSPZ is reusable annually. From the event side for when we get to winter, that is where we want to put the bulk of our funding to make that a repeatable
That's the more of
event.
the annual thing. And that
We
falls,
also-
that falls within what would be a $50,000 a year grant,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. The other side of that is if we're able to show what we're able to do with a larger fund, we can hopefully come back and
Right.
ask for some extra funding to say, look what we did last year with this much. Perhaps we can move forward with a little larger piece of the pie for the future.
Okay. Looking to see if there are any other questions. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Where'd that go? Sorry. Downtown enhancements, last year $13,000, but this year, nothing. Why the,
Because we've got the grant
so we're just
funding available
changing
to us,
where
we've
that-
just shifted it from one place to another.
Okay, thank you. And, happy to see, it looks like you're hiring more staff, is that correct, with the administrative expenses going from 81 to 140?
Not more staff. The board did an adjustment to wage for myself. That includes CPP, EI, all of that, and then the potential for a summer person.
Sorry?
A summer person, so someone to help out for a few months in the summer.
So a little bit more staff.
Slight. Yeah,
Okay,
Like
extra
a-
set of
Like a
hands.
summer intern or something.
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And $67,000 in vibrancy and placemaking, so that's kind of making up for that downtown enhancements. Okay. Well, it's great to see that money getting spent, and
Yeah. Consistency in board and having one person at the front helps us move projects forward. It's not consistency of board, then no inconsistency in board and changing direction and focus. So we've got a board that's active and engaged and would like to see things move forward. which is-
where can people find information out about the, you know, those vibrancy placemaking, you know, as well as the events? You know, is there somewhere we can find details on?
As we get them organized, yeah, they'll be on our website. They'll also be included in newsletter says that come out as we go. We'll be doing some updates to the website too, to have a section that's a bit more clear for the membership as to what's happening when.
Okay. And one last one, if I may, Your Worship.
Sure, and then we'll go to Councillor Ma after your question.
So tourist homes have not been included at this point in time?
No.
Right? Can you talk about the process and as to how they will be included and what that will look like?
High level, yes. We don't have specifics on it yet, but looking at it from business registration side, getting business license, we try to work a mechanism between ourselves and administration to identify who they are, what they are, roll them into the tax roll. They've purchased a space within the BIA zone, same as any other business would be rolled into the zone. We'd have a sort of an engagement letter with them, welcoming them to downtown, letting them know what the BIA is as far as introduction, and go forward from there. Again, specifics have not been worked through on the levy from the board side at this time, but that's the working plan at the moment.
So the piece that enables that is the fact that council has directed business license onto tourist homes, essentially,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Okay, Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Worship. Mr. McMahon, I was just trying to clarify something that Mayor Krauser brought up. When I'm looking at my report here, there's a bullet point that says, each landowner that also owns a business is only charged once, and the fee is applied to the business. So when I was reading that, I was assuming that if I owned the land and a business, I would only be charged the business fee. So that's not correct.
If you have a business operating in your property, then you pay for whatever the business fee would be. If you own property and that's strictly all, and you lease out your spaces, then you pay a landowner fee, your businesses pay a square footage fee.
Okay, I was just trying to understand that 3,905, because it seems like you're getting charged the landowner fee plus the vacant land fee, or the undeveloped property. Yeah, so that
So
seems
for
like
the
two to me. Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
so that's it, just curious.
Okay. So the direction from the board was the undeveloped fee was just strictly a fee, same as your building would be a fee. The 305 was the landowner fee. So they were addressing it as vacant lot, has the potential for X number of businesses on it. So they looked at it from 6 businesses per lot, plus then the landowner fee was their theoretical of new building goes up, there's the potential for X number of businesses on that property within that building, landowner fee, and the other part would be offset by businesses leasing within the theoretical building.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Mira.
Thank you. Councillor Ma helped me with the one question, so thank you. I do have a question, and just because it's our audit meeting today in finance, that there's no amount in your admin support and bookkeeping. Just curious where that is, and there's nothing, I don't see anything for contracted services either, so.
That got folded into me.
Sorry?
That got folded into me.
Okay, so that's now your responsibility?
Yeah.
So that would be in the admin expenses, okay? Thank you.
Councillor Graham.
I'm sorry, Mr. McMahon, I'm going to go back to this charged once fee issue, just so it's clear, because I think it's still a little bit muddy in my mind. So when I looked at my business, I own the property and I own the business in there, and I get charged the landowner fee and the business fee for a total of one charge. I think it's $850 or something like that. But that's what you're saying when you're getting charged one. There's actually 2 fees, but you're only getting charged once.
Correct.
Now I understand. Thank you.
Okay, so that, okay, Councillor Faubert.
So you're not getting two bills with the two different amounts. You get one bill, and there's two amounts on one bill that are totaled. So in the past, if you were a landowner and the business owner, you got two bills, right? And so what this is saying is that those two separate charges are now on one bill, one charge to the landowner if they're also the business owner or the undeveloped property, right? And so instead of getting multiple bills for those fees, you get one bill that has all the fees on it together. I thought I was going to be clear, and I don't think I was. I don't think I was.
Okay, so where this makes a difference to me is if you have a building that is full of businesses that you just rent to versus condominiumized, with the building you just rent to, is that landowner just charged $305 total? Not $305 times each business?
No, just the 305.
Okay, so, but if you're a building full of condominiumized businesses, so they're all owners, they all get charged their business rate plus the landowner of 305 together in one bill. Is that the understanding?
They get, if they're condominiumized building, they get, and they're operating their business in that space, then they get charged whatever the business version is.
Okay, so if they,
The 305, no, we've talked about this so many times, I'm starting to.
305 is the landowner fee, so they get
Correct.
that plus the business fee, and comes to one amount, and they get charged that one amount?
So in the past, and this just came up at our last levy meeting in discussion, it was, the board hadn't accounted for condominiumized spaces.
Yeah.
Everything up to this past discussion was, it was a building with tenants.
Right.
The condominiumization was not something that had ever been accounted for. It was one landowner, businesses within paid. So that's where something for this levy committee and moving into the new year is starting to address and sort out. It's the condominiumization part that was
Yeah.
not a discussion in the past.
So are they getting landowner plus the business?
They're
for
getting
one amount?
business.
Just the business? They're not getting the 305?
They're not getting the 305 because whatever building they are in,
Yeah,
the original building owner would have been on that 305 part, which
Right.
if there is now no building owner, it's gone away and it's just the business.
just the business. Okay, so it's not,
So if it's, I have to look at yours specifically, so, to see what was broken out on, in the breakdown.
okay. Okay, so that's opposite of what Councillor Graham understood there. That's why it was confusing to me.
I thought so too, but.
I guess what I'll ask now is, why should a condominiumized building, let's say 50 units, pay $15,000 in fees, whereas if one person owned that as one building, they only pay $305? How do we square that one?
But all the,
That's not,
What was it? No.
that's not what I'm hearing. All of the businesses get charged a business fee.
correct,
And if there's a single owner and they don't run a business, they'll get the landowner fee, but the businesses won't.
correct. The landowner gets the 305. If there's, whatever, 6 units in a building, 4 of them are occupied, 2 are vacant, part of that tax roll, that landlord is paying the 305. That landlord is then also paying the offset of those vacant spaces because it's part of taxes.
Right, okay.
So all of that, it still goes to the landowner, the full totaled number. And
Yeah.
then they break it out from there accordingly. So
Okay.
they're responsible for the 305. Perhaps they shuffle that also down to the tenants, but that's their
Okay.
purview. But yes, separate it out. Grand total goes to the property owner. 305 is for the property owner
Okay.
if they don't have a business in their building.
Okay. Councillor McCallum.
I feel like some of these questions are being asked as counselors sitting at the dais, and some of these questions should have been asked at the AGM as a business owner, Councillor Graham. So,
We don't need to.
and although I appreciate that we have a level of oversight here, essentially this budget has been approved by the body that enjoys the benefits of the requisition and levy that occurs from this that is enabled through the MGA. So again, I appreciate that we're meant to have a level of oversight and we're meant to approve it, but these are weeds that would have occurred around the board table and around the annual general meeting and to the members that this gentleman answers to. And so, yeah, I think that these are questions sometimes, I think that you're asking these questions with your business hat on, and these are questions that you should have asked at the AGM. Thank you.
Well, Councillor Graham's not the only one that is asking the question, and I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So from my own point of view, I'm questioning the changes, and just wanted to make sure that I understood what the report was, because we are also responsible for it since we have to approve it.
I mentioned that
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, so I think the questions that Councillor Graham raised, though, were questions that others had. And so I don't know if it's purely fair to single them out as the business owner. Are there any other questions? Okay, so we're at the end of the questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You provided a lot of clarity.
I hope.
Well, I mean, okay, to be frank, there were a lot of questions because I think that there was also maybe some more explanation that could have been required within the report to help understand how we get to these changes. Because it's not that they're changes, as long as the BAA's happy with it and things have been reported, but we need to be able to understand how those changes came about and what that means. Because many times when this has come forward, there's not even been a percentage increase to the levy. It's just been the same thing, which is not sustainable. So not discounting that. It's just I think that the questions are commensurate with the maybe greater clarity that could have been provided. So you being here to answer that provided that clarity, and so I'm very happy to move forward myself. And I will now put some motions on the table.
Thank you.
So I will move that council approve the Downtown Business Improvement Area, BIA, revised 2024 budget as presented. In speaking to the budget, without a doubt, there's been a lot of work done by the BIA since we've last approved budgets in order to, it looks to be more sustainable, as well as doing more stuff. And I think that should it all come to fruition, is going to be very interesting and help with the vibrancy and the activation of the downtown area. So I'm excited to see how that all pans out. And so I will be supporting this. Councillor Hillstead.
I think that these recommendations don't match what's in our agenda package, so is it the revised 2024 budget, or is it the 2025 budget as presented? Because in the package, it's 2025, so.
You're right, actually.
Just wondering if that slide's old.
Should be the 2025 budget as presented.
Yeah, and that's the
Right.
other thing that I was trying to. Yeah.
Okay, so.
These are the wrong recommendations, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, okay, so I was looking at the slide.
Yeah.
So let me correct it for the record then. The motion is actually the council approve the Downtown Business Improvement Area 2025 budget as presented. And thank you for catching that, Councillor Hillstead.
I am in support, though, just wanted to catch that.
Yeah, no, and that's a great catch. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be speaking in favor of, I too appreciate that I believe these budgets are much more sustainable than they've been in the past. There are a lot of changes to how the structure is and where and how the money is going, and I think, that stems from a lot of our questions, but, I appreciate the answers and look forward to seeing that money get reinvested back into the downtown, in 2024, a lot of that money that didn't go back into enhancements and vitalization and vibrancy. So I really look forward to seeing those funds actually get dispersed into the downtown and enhancing the core.
Councillor Faubert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm speaking in favor, and I'm going to speak in favor of the package, the whole thing, so I'm only going to speak once. I'm really proud of the work that the BIA has done, and it's always a work in progress, and especially when you're working with a volunteer board of individuals who are committing their own personal time when they're very, very busy with their businesses and lives, to try and create something of a more vibrant downtown for our community. I think that this budget shows an evolution and a progression in the BIA towards fiscal sustainability, towards recognizing in its budget what it delivers and then delivering upon it. And I also believe that moving forward and working with the levy and expanding it to bring it up to date with what we see as the business landscape that we have in the downtown, that everyone is contributing towards the vibrancy, because together, when we pool our resources, we can do more. And I'm really grateful for the support of this council as well, and for all of administration's support with the BIA. I don't think we thank them enough for that, because it is a lot of work to make our downtown an amazing place. And I think that with all the work that this council is doing and investing in the downtown plan as well, is a really bright future for downtown Canmore. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Worship. I'll be voting in support. I think it's a good move to try and make the BIA more sustainable with the increased levy. Having said that, I do think there's probably going to be a heightened expectation amongst BIA members to see where those funds go, and I look forward to seeing what they come out with. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCallum.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be speaking in support of all of the motions. I have had the privilege of watching the BIA change and morph over the last 14 and a half years, and I have seen this budget sort of creep up incrementally every year, knowing that it was really quite unsustainable. And so I'm pleased to see something that's properly costed and achievable, and sort of living wage conditions for the executive director, all very important for the future sustainability of the BIA itself. And I feel like there's enough dollars now to actually row in a strong direction in terms of vitality and vibrancy in downtown, and achieving some of the goals and their strategies within their plans. So I'll be voting in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no one else, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, so moving on then to the bylaw approval. So I'll move that council give first reading to Downtown Business Improvement Area Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll now move that council give second reading to Downtown Business Improvement Area Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09. Anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I will now move that council give leave to go to third reading of Downtown Business Improvement Area Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09. I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll move that council give third reading to Downtown Business Improvement Area Tax Rate Bylaw 2025-09. Anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, so thank you very much. We're going to do one more item before we break for lunch. I see Mr. Reader is here. This is item H1, which is PL 2020-0280 Securities and CAP 7424 Budget Amendment for Renaissance Development. Mr. Reader, whenever you're ready, the first of all, welcome to council, and whenever you're ready, the microphone is yours.
There we are. All right. Mayor and Council, thank you. This should be fairly quick, I hope. Here to talk to you about some securities related to development and an increase to cap budget with those securities. So this is the location we're speaking of. It's 101 Stewart Creek Rise, also known as the Renaissance Development. It's up the hill from Gateway, next to the roundabout. So just a quick summary of the situation. The development at 101 Stewart Creek Rise was initially approved in 2009, seen numerous delays since then. Recently, the original developer went into receivership and a new developer is working to restart construction. Off-site improvements were agreed to by the previous developer, specifically a pedestrian pathway which would serve both the development and the surrounding neighborhood and connect into the gateway development, the pathway down the hill. The original developer provided securities to the town for the completion of those agreed off-sites prior to their going into receivership. And the pathway connections are considered a fairly high priority for us for completion. And they could be completed by the town using those securities as a contribution under Capital Project 7424 Pathway Network Connectivity 2025. So what we propose is to take the securities from that development and increase the cap budget of CAP 7424. Total value is $105,000 increase for a total cap budget of $590,000. Increase funded from the forfeited securities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reader. Looking to council to see if there are any questions. I don't see any, so thank you very much.
Okay.
So I will move the council increase the budget for CAP 7424 Pathway Network Connectivity 2025 by $105,000 for a total of $590,000, with the increase funded from forfeited securities from the Renaissance development. In speaking in favor of this motion, I appreciate the thought provided by administration to ensure that the infrastructure elements are completed, and that this is a good solution to do that. Anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for the report from administration. And I'm actually really glad to hear that these funds are going to be brought back to fruition and actually help with the pathway. It feels like a renaissance, if you will.
In the car with the family, just need to throw in the dad joke. Okay. Any other comments? I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, so we're going to take a break until 1 o'clock. And is that sufficient for everybody? Okay. We are back. We're now moving on to item H2, which is Short-Term Rental Enforcement Fund, STREF, budget approval. Ms. Gibbons, welcome back
Thank you.
from this morning's session.
Yes. I want to start by saying all the credit for the following should go to Ms. Miller and all her hard work in securing this grant. I'm just here to deliver the presentation today. I will do my best. Our recommendation is that council approve the expenditure of $1,109,885 on short-term rental and primary residence compliance to be funded by the Short-Term Rental Enforcement Fund, STREF grant. Back in January, Council approved the submission of an application to the STREF Fund through Housing Infrastructure and Communities Canada. This submission proved successful, and we will receive just over $1.1 million over the next 2 years, starting back on the 1st, actually, of this month. The objective is to protect new and existing units in our long-term housing stock by helping better enforce the short-term rental regulations that we have in place here in Canmore. This will be accomplished by increasing the capacity of enforcement and compliance of the short-term rental regulations we already have in place. The specific activities planned can be grouped into kind of 2 streams. One is around supporting the planning, implementation, improvement, and review of our short-term rental enforcement and compliance measures. This could include raising awareness and educating the public, conducting investigations and inspections, and supporting legal proceedings. The second is then around actually increasing capacity. These activities could include procuring or developing software and digital tools, developing, testing, and scaling new innovative tools, resources, and processes, creating and implementing an evaluation framework, creating a monitoring and performance measurement framework to measure the performance of this initiative, as well as building and disseminating knowledge on short-term rental enforcement. These additional activities are planned to be funded entirely through the grant received. The table here on the slide provides an illustrative table of the possible categories of the expenditures. Once the grant ends, any future operational expenses would be brought forward as part of future budget processes. So in conclusion, our recommendation is that council approve the expenditure of those funds, and I'm happy to take any questions on this.
Thank you very much. Looking to council to see if there are questions. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering how many short-term rental fines or tickets did we hand out last year?
Mr. Mackay.
Let me see if I can. There were 9 tourist home tickets, tourist home being person who operates a tourist home without a permit, tickets issued in 2024.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mr. McKay. I really appreciate that you had that information at your fingertips like that.
Appreciate the heads up.
Yeah.
Other questions?
That one a little bit. How will we, there was a slide back there that, you know, creating the performance for this. How will we structure the success of this? How will we understand if this has been a successful model for us? And I appreciate that this may be a Ms. Miller question.
I think that's one of the activities identified is really creating and implementing that evaluation framework, monitoring and determining that performance framework. I don't think we necessarily have a clear understanding of that yet. I think that's one of the things that will be, that we'll use these funds to do is actually look at some KPIs and how we report on this and whether we achieved what we were looking to achieve.
Excellent. Thank you.
Looking to see if there are any other questions. Seeing none, thank you very much. So I will move that council approve the expenditure of $1,109,885 on short-term rental and primary residence compliance to be funded by the Short-Term Rental Enforcement Fund, the STREF grant. Speaking in favor of this motion, I think that this is a wonderful opportunity that's being provided through this grant, for which, if approved, I think the town of Canmore should be very appreciative, because it will allow us to explore new and better tools and activities in order to enhance awareness and enforcement around illegal short-term rentals. Of course, this protects our housing inventory that is meant for primary residential. And it also ensures that within our neighborhoods, that those that are intended to be primary residence neighborhoods are not being operated with illegal short-term rentals. Looking to see if there are any other comments on this. Councillor Faubert.
I think this is a really good news item on the agenda because there's grant funding available and we're able to access it. Enforcement of short-term rentals is complex. And I think that with these resources and by council putting its support into enforcing the rules, we're making it clear to our entire community the expectations. And I think that that's absolutely essential to have a program like this work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. I see Councillor Ma is going to be joining us. Welcome, Councillor Ma. We have a motion on the table with respect to item H2, the grant-funded short-term rental enforcement fund dollars. Looking to see if there are any other comments. Yes, Councillor Faubert.
Point of procedure. My inquiry is, if a councillor wasn't present for the presentation, should they be voting on the motion? Or is it contextual to the item?
The only item for which they are not allowed to vote is if there's a public hearing that they missed. After that, it's up to them. The information was in the package, and presumably, if Councillor Ma is here, I think he's required to vote.
Yes, okay, perfect.
And so I will, however, even though there's a motion on the table, I will ask Councillor Ma if he has any questions with regards to the package information.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. I went through the package yesterday, and I think I had pretty much the information I needed to hear. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other comments on the motion? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Did Councillor Ma vote? Councillor Ma, can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. I was voting in favor of the motion.
There you go. Okay, it's carried unanimously then. And we'll now move on to item H3. And Ms. Gibbons,
There's a
welcome
theme
to
today.
council. This is the CAP 7428 South Millennium Reclamation Project cancellation. We had a teaser this morning in the Finance Committee meeting about this, and now we're going to find out more. So whenever you're ready, the microphone is yours.
Sorry, switching presentations. Here we go. Okay, so last time you'll officially hear from me today. This item is with respect to the cancellation of capital project CAP 7428, the South Millennium Reclamation Project. Our recommendation is the council direct administration to cancel capital project CAP 7428 South Millennium Reclamation Project. As we already discussed this item earlier a little bit with the Finance Committee, this is kind of the administrative follow-up to that. I'm actually going to go through this quite quickly. So to recap, last year the province directed the town to reclaim the leased land at South Millennium back to its natural state after it had been used as an unofficial dumping site for many years. So you may recall originally we put this forward and it was approved as a new capital project for 2025. Then we were working on our 2024 financial statements, working with the auditors, and we realized that because we received that notification in 2024 and had started that process, we realized that that obligation really needed to be recognized in 2024, the year it originated. And so that included recognizing the liability and the accompanying expense. So therefore, the separately funded capital project is actually no longer required. Again, no changes to the scope of the work or the intended budget for that work. This is really around recognizing it appropriately under accounting standards and rules. So recognizing the liability in 2024 reduced the surplus from what it otherwise would have been. And now with the cancellation of this project, the funds that had been committed from the Asset Rehab and Replacement Reserve will become available again for future projects. In conclusion, our recommendation is just, again, that council direct us to cancel that capital project for that work. Any questions?
Great, thank you. So to be clear, we don't need a capital project to be a record for it because there is the order requiring it, and it does then appear in our 2024 accounting. Okay. Okay, any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you very much. I will then move that council direct administration to cancel capital project CAP 7428 South Millennium Reclamation Project. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? In speaking in favor of the motion, this is really a housekeeping item. The project's still there. It's accounted for in a different way. The funding is already accounted for, and this work will be done. Seeing nothing further, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, so now I will move, get to the proper spot here. We're going to go into a closed session, which is item K1. I'm going to move that we move into this session. There will be no decisions being made following this closed session, and so we'll just be coming out to adjourn, and therefore our streaming of this meeting will end as soon as the motion to go into closed session has been approved. So with that, I move that council close the meeting to the public to prevent disclosure of solicitor-client privileged information in accordance with Section 27 Sub 1 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.